Welcome to section 6. In this section 6, we'll be discussing about formulas in Excel. This is where Excel's real power comes alive. Formulas and functions for calculation. When in section 1, in the definition of Excel, I mentioned that Excel is being used for calculations. And you cannot do calculation without formulas. So in this formulas tab, in this formula ribbon, we'll be discussing and addressing the various calculations in Microsoft Excel. Starting with the first group here, function library. I have prepared a data set that we use for practical here, and the functions, I've written down the functions. So after explaining the various groups, we'll come back to do this calculation here, calculating the total mark, the average, and the difference, the marks, mathematics divided by the science students, and the conditional statement to know people that fail and people that pass. Okay, so without much waste of our time, so let's look at the first function here. It says function library. So in this function library, we have insert functions. So the insert function is just for us to insert whichever function we want to work with, to insert function. So work with the formulas in the current cell. You can easily pick functions to use and get help on how to fill out the input values. So here, the insert function, we'll click to choose whichever function that we want to work with. So we can search for a function. If you watch, you can search for a function or select a category that we are working with. So if you're working with, if it's information, engineering, cube, web, statistic, whatever we're working with, we click it, then insert the function for it and do the calculation. Then AutoSum. AutoSum is used to automatically calculate the data set. So here now we have AutoSum, and if you check down here, we have AutoSum for average and count. So for instance, if you want to do the AutoSum for here now, you can select this and click on AutoSum, because this is summation, total mark, everything is summation. So click on AutoSum and we have the answer, right? Good. I will undo it because I don't need it now. So the next thing we have here is recently used. So in this recently used is just for us to reuse the functions that we recently used. So any function that, like the one I use now, it will appear my recently used. So I can come here and reuse it if it's in line with the next data set I want to calculate. So in financials, so in this financials, just add a financial function to your sheet. So you can click here to see various financial functions. You can see the various financial functions. So if our data set is about financial, so we can use any financial function to do our calculation for proper visualization and presentation. Logical. So this is also to add a logical function to our worksheet. So for working with a logical data set, we can make use of our logical. The same thing goes with tests. If you're working with tests, we can add text function to our data set. You can see text function: left, learn, lower, mind, number value, propel, replace, right? So these are text function. If our data set is all about text. Date and time. So if you're working with date and time, we can still come here to add it to our to add a time function to our data set. So this data set is not really, it's talking about date and time. So, but if you're working with any data set that is about date and time, you can add date value, and hour, and depending on the function needed, year, work day, week number, week day, today, time value, time, seconds. So depending on the function that your data set needs, you can um, use date and time to add it. So lookup and reference. So in this lookup and reference, it add a lookup or reference to your functions. It adds a lookup or reference function to your worksheets. So here, I believe you know what we mean by lookup and references. So when we talk of lookup and references, we are talking of maybe places we draw our ideas from, the books, or some other data we draw our ideas from. So we can make reference to them through this lookup and references. Maths and trig. So this trig stands for trigonometry. So if we are dealing with mathematical function, we have them here. So we can see all the mathematical function here: cosine, cobine, atan, asine, Arabic, accodes. So all the mathematical function, we have them here. Log 10, mean, verse, mode. So we have all the mathematical function if you're working with a function. Then here more functions. So this small function is, assuming we have gone through all this and we do not see the function or the particular function we are looking for, we come to more function to select the particular function we are looking for. You can see when you click on more function, we have statistical. So these are statistical functions. All these are statistical functions. You can see them. They are all statistical functions we can use for our data sets. The next line are engineering functions. So you can see the engineering functions. If your data set is all about engineering, so these are engineering functions you can use. Coop. If you're working on coop, these are coop sets. If you're working on information, this is mainly on test, you can see what you can use for your information. If you're working on anything, compatibility, so these are the functions you can use for compatibility. And last but not the least, if you're working with web, these are the functions you can use for your web. So let's move over to the next group, which is define name. Yeah, define name is our next group, where we have name manager, define name, and using formulas. So name manager, define name, and using formulas. Okay, so let's look at that. So under this define name group, we have the name manager. So under this name manager, you can create a new name, you can add, you can edit, you can delete names from here. So let's look at the description. It says create, edit, delete, and find all the names used in the workbook. So names can be used in formulas as substitute to cell references. So for example, instead of using equal sign, sum, myself, you can use Okay, for example, you can use sum myself instead of sum C2, C20 to C30. That is if that is your data range from C20 to C30 in summation. And okay, so that is that. So define name. So it's just the same thing we explain here in this name manager. So here is where we define the name. If you want to use any function like that, we'll define and apply name. So we'll click on define name, and it asks us the name, pass and fail, because I selected here. That's why I see pass and fail. So I choose the name, then I come here, the scope. Which of the sheet, this is sheet 1 or sheet 2? I have two sheets here, sheet 1 and sheet 2. Then what is the comment you want to add? Then refer to, which of the sheet is it referring to? Is it referring to sheet 1? And in sheet 1 is referring to K1, because that's one on active. Have you seen it? It's referring to K1. So that is it. So in the name, defining a name, let me use here. Okay, let me use here. Yeah. So in defining a name, you choose the name, the scope where it is. I'm working on sheet 1. Then you write a comment if you want to add a comment. Then refer to is referring to D1 to D7, because I'm referring to D1 to D7, because that's what I selected. So if I click on OK, I will have the name defined. So using formulas. So you choose a name used in this workbook and insert it into the current formula. So that's just that. Let's move over to the next group, which is formula auditing. So in this formula auditing, this stress percentage and trace precedents and trace dependents and remove arrows. So here is in the trace precedent, it defines the or indicates which of the cells that have that affects the value. Then dependent talks about the particular value or being the value of the cell being affected. So here, trace value, let's look the description. Say shows arrows that indicate which cells affect the value of the current selected cell. So here now is it shows arrow that indicates which cell are affected by the value of the current selected cell. So this one shows the one that affects, and this one shows the one that's being affected by the current selected value. So this on relational. So assume you are working on relational data, then we can use this to make our references. So this one remove any function, either this or this. This is just to remove the function that is being selected. There. Show formula. So this shows our formula that will be selected. So that just show formulas. Error checking. So if you are working with the Excel, sometimes you hit a roadblock where in your formulas you encounter errors. So for you to get rid of those errors, you can use error checking to know where the error is coming from and how to fix the error. You can trace error here and check error and trace error. So those things are being provided for you in the later the older version of Excel. We don't have most of this function here, but in this newer version, I'm working with though not that new, but I'm working with Office 216. So we have all these functions there. So watch windows. Okay, let's leave that one. So let's go back to the next one, which talk about calculation. Yes, calculation. So let's look at the calculation before we come back to our data set. So under calculation, we just have calculate now, calculation option, and calculate sheet. So calculate option is I think it's set to automatic. Yes, it's set to automatic. By default, it's set to automatic. So here is where you choose to calculate formulas automatically or manually. If you make a change that affects a value, Excel will automatically recalculate it. Yes, it is set to automatic. So it means that thing that if I, okay, we'll practicalize that. If I do this calculation now, and it gave me 215 before, so if I make any change here, it will automatically do the recalculate it. So this is the function here. Then calculate now. This one works assuming this is not turned on. If it's not on this automatic, then I can use this to see achieve the same thing here. You can see it say calculate now, and it says here calculate the entire workbook now. You only need to use this if automatic calculation is turned off. The same thing here. You only need to use this if automatic calculation is turned off. So with this being said, I've walked you through all the groups in the formula tab. So let's practicalize with this data set we have here. So in this data set, we have these student data sets. So we have John, Mary, Peter, and David. So here now, we want to calculate their marks, the English, and science total. So I used AutoSum before, which gave us by selecting this 3 and AutoSum, it gave me 215. So let's remove it. Sorry, let's undo that. So let's calculate it the way it should be. So before you do calculation in Excel, each calculation precedes with the equal sign. Each calculation in Excel precedes with equal sign. So whether if you want to sum, if you want to do the average, minus, or multiplication. And I have written down all the formulas here for this data set. The first one is the summation. This is the formula. The average. This is the formula. Subtraction. The multiplication. The subtraction. Multiplication. Division. And the conditional statements. That is the if conditional statements. So with the first one, like I said earlier, every calculation in Excel precedes with an equal sign. So for us to get the total mark of John, the total mark of John is B2, which is here, the B2, and D2, so which is B2 to D2. That is the total mark. Good. But remember, is a summation. So once we bring our equal sign, we put our sum and open brackets B2 and to D2. You can see it is being selected from B2 to D2. So I close my brackets. So this is it, and click on enter on my keyboard. So I have the answer now. So you will do the same thing to all of them. So for Mary, we put our equal sign, sum, open brackets. For Mary now, it will be B3. Understand? It will be 3 to D3. D3. Close your bracket and hit your enter key. So this is for Mary. With the same thing for Peter, but I'm not going to calculate for Peter. I will show you another way to do it instead of doing the whole calculation for all of them. So another way to do it is, since you have gotten the first one, you can use it to calculate for all, but I'll use from this second one. So you come to the point of intersection in the line, and once you get this plus sign, you click and drag it down, and you have the calculation for other ones. Here is 0 because I don't have anything here, so that's why you're seeing 0 here. And when you click there, you see the formula is B4 to D4. You click and B5 to D5, so it's the same formula. And so you click on David, B6 to D6, so that is the formula we have. So on average, for us to calculate the average mark, so the average is the same way. We put our equal sign and put our average. You can decide to write it complete or you write it half, whichever way it will go. So you put your brackets, and our average is B2 to D2. So we want to know the average. So if you don't want to type it, the next thing you will do, another way to do it is you click on it. Now we are going for B2, which is here. I click there. I have my B2. So the next thing I will click is D2. So I have it. I close my brackets. Then click on enter. Something is wrong. Okay, average. Sorry, average. So sometimes when you do this calculation, you will get error. So, but let it not bother you. Try and find out where the error is coming from, and that is it. So I have my average now. So let's do the same thing here. Put your equal sign, average. I open brackets, B3 to B to D3. So you close your brackets and enter. So this is the average for it. So you have to do the same thing I did earlier by selecting this plus sign. Once you get this plus sign, you drag it down to calculate for the average for other ones. So we're looking for the difference, which is subtraction, minus. So here we are minusing 80 from we are minusing maths from English, which is 80 minus 65. That's what we are doing here. So still the same way, we put our equal sign, and 80, which is B2, put our minus sign, minus 65, and click enter. That is 15. So instead of doing the same thing, calculating putting the formula for all, I can just drag down. It will calculate the rest for me. You get it? So click here now, you still get this B3 minus C3. You click here, you see is B4 minus C4. You click here, you see is B5 minus C5. So remember, this is our formula bar, right? Good. Let's go to the next, which is the mark. So once you know the mark, so how do we get the mark? The mark here states that the mathematics times multiplied mathematics score by 2. So it's here, multiply mathematics score by 2. So we'll come here, we'll put our equal sign, and we'll say B2 multiplied by, we'll put our multiplication sign. So B2 multiplied by 2. Yes, that's it. So 160. So click and drag and we'll get the rest of the answer. You can see, B4 multiplied by 2 for Peter. So we'll go for the next line, which says mathematics, that should be division. So divide maths by science. Yeah. You divide maths by science. So what we have here now is your equal sign. The same way, we put B2 divided by D2, which is we're dividing maths divided by science. Enter. So this is what we have. We drag it down so that you calculate the rest for us. So now let's go for the conditional statements. So in the conditional statements, we are trying to know those that fail and those that pass. So in these conditional statements, we are looking at first of all, put our equal sign, because in Excel each calculation is being preceded by an equal sign. So what we have here is if. So we are trying to know, okay, we are trying to know if if E2 is our total mark. So we're trying to know if E2 is greater than or equal to 150. So that's what we are trying to know here. We want to know if E2 is greater than or equal to 150. Let's just do it, then we'll explain. So if brackets E2 greater than or equal to 150. So what will happen if it's greater than or equal, sorry, there's a mistake. If it's greater than or equal to 150, give us pass, comma, x you give us fail. Yeah, close the bracket. So want to know if 215, which is E2, is greater than or equal to 150. If it's greater than or equal to 150, we should have pass. But if it's not greater than or equal to 150, it should give us fail. So that is what we have here now. So let's see, click the enter and see. So we have pass because 215 is greater than or equal to 150. So the same way, we'll just click and drag to have other calculation being calculated. So we only have um, one fail here. Why? Because Anna is less than 150. So that's why we have fail in Anna, because Anna is 135 and we are talking of 150. So if I come to this formula now, this is the formula. If I come to this formula now and change, I'm in the formula bar. If I come to this formula now and change this to, let me say 130. Good. If I change to 130 and click enter, okay, it did not select. So let me come here and okay, it's been selected now. Yeah, it's there. So and click enter. So what will happen if I drag it again and come down? All of them will be pass. You know why? Because this is 135. So all of them will be pass. And remember when we talked about this automatic calculation. So that's what we have here. So let's practicalize this automatic calculation now. So if I come here now and okay, let me leave it with 130, but let me come here and change this 190 we have here. This is E. Okay, let me change here. Let me change. Assume Peter. I will give Peter 10. It will affect it. So I've given Peter 10. You can see it's affected here, and 90 times 10. Okay, let's see. Let me give Peter just 5 English. Peter got 5 in English. Yeah, enter. You can see it's changing, right? Okay, let me give Peter 0. Okay, let me give change the English. I want it to affect the pass and this. Let me change English to maybe 30. Enter. You can see now it is on auto calculate. Here is fail on AutoSum because the average of Peter now is 40 and the total mark of Peter is 120, but our pass mark, average pass mark is 130 because in our conditional statement we use 130. So if um, E4, which is Peter, the total mark of Peter, which is 120. So if 120 is greater than 30, give us pass. If 120 is not greater than 30, give us fail. Understand? Then it will go again. If 120 is equal to 30, give us pass. If 120 is not equal to 30, otherwise give us fail. So it's a loop. It works as a loop. So the first one it will go is to check if this E4, which is 120, if it's greater than 130. Now it will check. It's not greater than 130, so it's failed. But it will go again. Is it equal to 130? It will check again. It's not equal to 130. So now what is the condition? The condition is if it's greater than 130 or equal to 130, give pass. If not, fail. So that's why you're seeing fail here. Now let's check this out. This is E2. E2 is John and the mark here is 215. So is 215 greater than 130? The answer is yes. So it will give us pass. Understand? So in the first condition is pass. So it will just give you pass. But if in the first condition is not the same, it will go again. Let's use here for instance. Okay, let's turn it to let's make it to 135, and you see this thing will still be let's make the condition statement 135 because of here. So let's come here now and sorry, let's come here in the E5, which is around 135. Okay, I have not done the whole calculation, so good, we have it now. So E5 135. So here now we have E5 is 135. So is E5 greater than 135? Is not greater than 135. So it will go again. Is it equal to 135? It will check. Yes, is equal to 125. So what is the condition? Pass if it's equal to 135. So that's why you have pass here. So this is how to do the calculation in Excel. Make sure you take notes of the formulas. You can write it down so that on your when you want to practice, you know how to practice these formulas. So make sure you, before you start doing the one I was doing by dragging down, try to familiarize yourself with these formulas and make sure that you have them as your fingertip before you start dragging and doing the auto calculation. So our next video will be on data. So we'll walk you through the data in our next video. So if you have not subscribed to our channel, do it to subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that whenever we upload new video,